we're going to be making a heart tapestry for the upcoming Valentine's Day celebration, and we're going to start chaining 15. So as always, down below I'm going to leave the Pinterest pin of the pattern that I'm following. But as of right now, after chaining our 15 chains, we are going to make a Tunisian simple stitch. We always count the stitch that we have on our hook as one, and instead of working on the right side of our chain, we're going to turn it around and we're going to work on these back bumps right here. So this first bump we skip, but we always go into the next bump and we insert our hook, yarn over, and we pull, and we keep our stitches on our hook. So once again, we're going to work onto those bumps, and we just insert our hook, yarn over, and pull, and there we go. We have 3 stitches on our hook. So now that we have all our stitches in our hook, to do our return pass, which will complete our row, we're going to chain 1 onto that last stitch. So we yarn over and we chain 1, and then we continue, we yarn over and we go through 2 stitches on our hook, and yet again yarn over, we go through 2 stitches, and we continue all the way down our row. So now onto our second row, we are going to work onto those front loops of our previous row. But if we're following along with the pattern, on the second row it calls for a color change. So our first stitch is going to stay red, but our next color is going to change. So what we're going to do is that we're going to insert our hook onto that front loop of that stitch, and we're going to drop our red yarn, and we're going to pick up our next color. In my case, I'm going with a classic red and white, so my color change is going to be done with a white yarn. And that's what we do. We keep our 2 stitches, or the rest of our stitches, onto our hook, and we're going to continue working onto those front loops and yarning over with our color change. We're going to keep doing that onto our second to last stitch, because our last stitch calls for a red stitch. So then for our last stitch, we're going to drop our white and pick up our red. Let's make sure that the tension on the back, since we're going to carry our yarn, is loose. So for our last stitch, we also want to make sure that we catch those 2 stitches. The B that we create at the end of our row, we want to catch those. So we have a straight edge, and we yarn over and we pull with our red. And just like before, we're going to chain 1 onto that last stitch. But now, since we have 2 colors on our hook, the general rule is that if you have 2 different color stitches, we always use that second color stitch for our return pass. So now we're going to drop our red yarn, we're going to pick up our white, and we're going to yarn over and go through 2 of those stitches, and 2 and 2, all the way down our row. And of course, at the end of our row, we're going to chain. We're going to change that color onto that red. So then for our next row, we're going to keep that last stitch red, and we are going to insert our hook onto that first stitch, and we're going to pull with our white, and then we're going to drop our white and pick up our red yarn. And as always, make sure you reference your reference picture at all times, and you keep counting your stitches at the beginning and end of our rows so we don't miscount a stitch or add a stitch. So now that you know the general rule of the Tunisian simple stitch, you can always change the colors, you can always maybe tweak the little reference picture that you're following ever so slightly, and you can always recreate as many tapestries as you like. I'm going to be making this a regular series. It's just going to be Valentine tapestries, or you can always weave them into your sweaters, your bags, or whatever it is that you're making. And yeah, stay tuned for our upcoming heart tapestry.